just what I'm doing.
Nothing to stop you. No reason to go.
What's the gig next week? What city, name, and place? Did you guys? Here we would, play Monday to Saturday, travel on Sunday. Was it?
Same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes the weeks were shorter. Sometimes you didn't play 7 days.
I was just going to say, we had a couple of gigs here and there.
They're tough.
That one was Monday, Saturday, and the other gig started on Sunday. Sunday's 13 days.
And those for make sure those all-night drives. And I remember one time driving from McAllen, Texas to Hannibal, Missouri. I mean, it's, yeah, you just don't stop. You just keep driving.
Yeah, did you have, say you had 5, I don't know, there's 6 people in your band, whatever. There was some people you didn't really want to drive. So the driving, the people who
You're absolutely right. There's only 2 or 3 drivers, and those are the ones you let drive.
Yes. And if one of those other guys drive, you're so on edge, you can't sleep.
No, absolutely.
Same thing. Yeah.
Every once in a while, it would come up that we'd have to play something far away, and managers say, well, we're going to fly out. So, don't have to drive to Atlanta.
We used to call, well, I don't know, I can't say it, but Elmer the safety elephant. That's what we used to call him when he's driving, because you'd only drive like 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You never get anywhere anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, we always had somebody in the band that didn't have a driver's license, and we always hoped that we weren't all falling asleep, that we had to get him to drive.
Well, you need a guy who doesn't drink, doesn't smoke pot. And so, keep narrowing each one of those demands.
And that's why there's only
narrow them
2
down. I'll drive.
Yeah, I'll do it. Don't worry.
Wow. That's something I wish I would have been able to do, just being an outsider, loving music and art. I never got that camaraderie you get from driving across the country or spending nights in motels and stuff like you did over the years.
You gather up some good stories. That's for sure.
I love it when
good and bad,
Yeah, I love that. I get the privilege of listening to you about yourself and some of the people you've played with and that you've recorded and stuff. So it's been a privilege meeting most of them, but I'm like a kid in the candy store today. I told Steve, almost called him Mr. Burnside when he walked in the room. But anyway, I followed him for years. I'm a lover of Canadian music, of course, and art and blues and jazz and some of the more eclectic taste is my love. So catching you up at Fireman's Park a couple times over the years, as well as a few venues with a couple cold pints, So it's a privilege to actually, although I'm on the screen and anybody who watches this later and the few Lions and Northern Tributes members that are here, it's amazing because I'm actually in the same building. We just have a couple rooms in the studio. So I've actually it's hard not to run in and actually sit with you guys in the studio.
Well, you look good. Like the thing's working pretty good now.
I look forward to the days when we don't have to use the Zoom, guys. Let me tell you.
I actually think you're better looking on the screen here.
So how about you guys discuss maybe a little bit of some of the local talent that you guys hang out with or played with over the last few years or number of years? I'm familiar with the fact first call I made to Steve was through T-Bone Little. So maybe you guys could talk about T-Bone or any of the number of guys you guys played with over the years.
Well, I started the band with another fellow from Welland, Mikey Derry, in 1958. At that time, the only other band around was Big John. And we didn't run into him that much because Big John had already been in it for 4 or 5 years. So we didn't, he used to play in Buffalo and he played in Quebec and he was well established when we got going, but he was the only guy that was around then. More and more bands came, of course, by 1960, 2 years later, there was a handful of bands, but in the early days, Big John was it. And he had that hit record, Rockin' Crickets. I think it was in 1958 or 59, which I redid in 1966. And neither one of us made any money. Somebody made some money, but it wasn't John or I.
Well, we were very fortunate to have John up here in the studio the day we practiced with video. So I guess he was our video guy. We're very fortunate here for a place that, wants to work with up and comers and help out with nonprofits. We're very fortunate to have a lot of you guys with experience. And John, of course, is a Wall of Fame guy as well. So, but I've heard his music, and I've really, I must admit to my ignorance in that style of music, rockabilly or whatever you would like to call it, back when John was doing, well, John does everything. I mean, I've got a list of CDs from just about everything, but he's like you both kind of just do anything you want to do.
I find that John always, there's this country side to him too.
He does have a country side.
So I always think of him as a country blues guy, if that's even a category, but that's,
I was on the road one time and they played this song. I think that's Chuck Berry's. It was Big John. It was Shaking and Stomping. Big John song. And I never really heard it. It was on his album, but he had recorded it way back there in the Rockin' Crickets days. And some oldie station played it.
Well, that's now, is this lately?
Well, within the last 10 years.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Maybe within the last 20 years.
Yeah, we've kept
But John and I have become a lot closer friends in the last, say, 25 years than we were before, because we didn't see each other before.
And there's probably only so many people that relate. I mean, unfortunately, you probably lost a lot of people passed on to like that era. Now, my family's musicians, so I'm the youngest of brothers. So all my brothers gigged when I was 12 years old, 10 years old. My brothers were going out Friday and Saturday night with their horns to gig.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I mean, like chronologically, I've been aware of,
There's only a couple of guys at Big John's band left. I know the sax player that he had, Bill Pinelli from Buffalo, who actually wrote Rockin' Crickets but didn't get credit. He played with me too. I assume it was after John, but I'm really not sure. But it was in that 59, 60 era. And he was a very good sax player. And he's gone, But
good sax players in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Those two, I've played with those two guys that you've played.
Tony.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're good. Yeah, a lot of good sax players over there. That's for sure. But we didn't cross paths many times. There wasn't many paths in those days, so.
Yeah. Did you ever play Vegas?
Yes. Yeah. We played at the Riverside. I think it was the Riverside, and the main act was we were always the supporting act. The guy that played with Louis Bream and Kelly Smith, what was his name? Saxophonist. Those guys had passed away. Louis Bream and Kelly Smith passed away, and this guy had his own band.
Whole other generation.
Yeah, and he came out and played, and we were there with him. I wasn't enamored with Las Vegas.
Yeah.
People come in and sit and look at you, and they got that funny look on their face because they just lost the mortgage.
Oh, yeah.
But we did it, and we played Atlantic City too, and it was okay. I actually went to Atlantic City to do better. Okay. A little more to do.
Well, you're an East Coast guy.
Yeah. But
so you sent me this thing today. So you did some opening acts for Frankie Avalon and Billy Joe Royal and Lou Rawls. I mean, he's a big fan.
Well, when during the early to mid 70s, these agencies, managers would put together a show, and that usually had to have a local band because the union said you had to have a local band, and they would have a supporting act and a headline act.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, well, the supporting act had to be really good. You had to do everything, be funny, sing good because a lot of the headline acts were famous, but you only hear them do one song when they're famous. And some of them couldn't really sustain a 45-minute
Yeah,
set.
I remember seeing videos of that kind of thing.
They couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So in case they couldn't, it fell down on the supporting act to really hold the show.
Mhm.
And we became famous as a supporting act because they could put somebody with us that was really famous, but
They did their 3 songs.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then they went with the band, and we did that a lot. We did Frankie Avalon. Frankie Avalon's a great guy. I really liked him. But after you've heard Davy Dinah and Angel or whatever, Venus, after you've heard that, where are you going to go? I didn't look like a Nick Funicello, so there wasn't much going on there. So he would come in and say, "What do you guys do? Let's do one of your tunes." And he kind of blend in with us.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Other than a bunch of songs from the early 50s that probably by 1970 nobody knew, there wasn't anything for him to do. And so he did that, and a lot of acts did that. They could do their 4 or 5 hit records. When we worked with Lou Rawls, poor Lou had a cold. And he could come out and he did
You'll never
At
find.
least he's not a rangy singer, yeah.
he could do a couple of tunes, and he was coughing and that, and he said, let's do that one. I heard you guys do this, and he would do our songs with us.
Okay. Well, yeah, he's still there.
Oh yeah, he's doing good. Billy Joe Royal, he only had 1 or 2 hit records.
What was?
Well, he had Down in the Boondocks.
Oh, that's a biggie.
He had another one that I can't remember, but he was really famous for a Coca-Cola commercial he did, which I can't remember that either. And he did that in his act. But and Billy Joel was real good, nice fellow, but his band was like a bar band. I couldn't handle it after the 2 or 3 songs. So that's what we did. We traveled around being supporting acts for a long time. We finally got a chance one time. We used to play at the Newport Hotel in Miami Beach, and that's where all the B acts played, and we were the supporting act. Right across the street is a very famous hotel called the Castaways, and it's in a lot of movies. The guy at the Castaways hired us to come over and be the headline act. We thought, oh, this is great. We've arrived. That's a fast Steve. The Castaways, the lounge is the star attraction. Every night at the Castaways is New Year's Eve, every night. They have balloons and champagne, and there's a whole bunch of big mirrors around the room that play movies, and at midnight, cannons go off and shoot confetti in the air. And there's music, oh yeah, and they have a band. Like that's where you were. And we thought, we were happier across the street as a supporting act than over here. The good part of it was the other lounge had a great band, Benny Lattimore. Do you know who Benny Lattimore is? He's a blues singer. He had a big hit record. Now that I'm old, I can't remember what it was. But we used to go on a break. We go up and hear Benny because Benny was real good. But we had our shot there, and then we went on to other things. We went out west, California, and
Well, yeah, you did the whole
kept traveling and kept going. We actually didn't come home until.
Did they route? Did the agents route?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
We had a great manager. His name was Key Howard, and he was the entertainment director for Ramada Inns.
Oh, so you're covered, yeah.
Back in those days,
Every tiny town over 25,000 got
yeah, they owned about 150 of their own places, some really big ones. And he was our manager. So he would rub us, he'd give us like 6 months, and then we'd have a month off. And he'd give us another 6 months, and we could get time off. One day, and this was, I'm going to say 1992, he said, Steve, I got bad news. He said, Ramada Inn is dropping entertainment in 95 of its rooms. Oh, okay. What does that mean? Well, it means that the $3,500 acts are dropping down to $2,500.
Yes.
The $2,500 acts are dropping down to $1,500 acts, $1,500, and the $1,500 acts are out.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the
Exactly.
demise. Karaoke was something that really put a stab into live music.
Absolutely.
Every bar had a karaoke machine. Everybody could get up and sing, and it cut into the live music. It died out in the States a lot faster than it died out here. In the States, you'd be hard pressed to find karaoke, or over here, now it's everywhere.
Years ago there,
I feel bad now.
placed the drum and
I
hit.
ducked my head really quick because, of course, I host DJ and karaoke music. So
Oh, that's right. He's a karaoke. Oh,
I had to duck when Steve was talking, but I wasn't around back then. I'm just the new guy.
I had there at that drum and in place, which is called something else now. They had a sign, live entertainment. So I went in and you know, I kind of had word. I mean, in you know, get in the guy's face, but I said, hey,
That's not
karaoke's not live entertainment.
Yeah.
No,
He says, you know,
no, I get that.
we exchange words.
I get that 100%, especially watching you guys rehearse here last summer and stuff when we were getting ready to take over the upstairs here. And yeah, it's a huge difference. I mean, it's easy for me to maybe sound similar to somebody, whether I'm singing it or playing it. But I mean, to be able to get the energy and get the performance aspect and to get the right sound and the right pitch and actually make the music
And
like
remember
you
it. Remember what you heard.
Well, karaoke put the first knife in, and then things changed after that, and it went down from 6 nights a week to 5, and down to 4, and then down to 3. Well, the problem is at 3 nights, if you're in Colorado, you have to stay someplace.
Yep.
You can't just show up for 3. You don't disappear for the other 4 days of the week. So it got to some places, yeah, you can come and stay here, but the hotels that were really big wouldn't let you. When it got down to 3, you had to say, well, I don't know about this anymore.
Time to park yourself.
Right, and by this time, I was living in Niagara Falls. The girl that sang in the band, Linda Brick, she was living in California, and Paul, our keyboard player, was living in Boston. So it cost us $900 to get to the job, you know. So we had to one day, I remember it was in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and we said, well, I don't know when we're going to play again. And we had a job booked for New Year's. This would have been October. And I had to phone the guy and say, no, we can't do it because the money doesn't justify us coming back to do the job. And that was the last time that band played. And then I came home and started with the old guys that had been in the band years before here. Started up again locally.
Right.
But that was, I can remember that night like it was yesterday, man.
You think how, but when you came back, at that time you came back, there was still mass amounts of work compared to what there is now.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I mean, relatively, the price of maintaining a band, okay, so we're talking, what, 95?
Oh, that's when I quit, is in 95. Or that's when we went off the road.
Yes, that's when you started playing around here.
Yeah.
So you could sustain that 5-piece band because people are going home at night.
Yeah,
for all those
sure.
reasons.
Yeah. You could play one night.
Well, I mean, but you could play 3 nights at that time still.
Yes.
And I mean, it's only been, you know, and then it's been a steady decline from then on. But my point was your band could function locally.
Yeah,
very well.
you could do that. Yeah. And in fact, the band even enlarged. When I came back, I had started playing with the horn players, and I had 4 or 5 horns, guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, and a sound man.
Wow.
You know, we had our own sound system, so everything. Mike Adair
was the sound man.
Mike Adair was the sound man.
Yes.
Mike Adair started the band with me in 1958, and he played guitar. Then he switched over to bass. He played bass till 1966. And then he left for a long time. He came back in 97 as the piano player.
That's right,
Piano player. And I said, what do you want to do next? Mike said, I want to drive the bus.
Jogo.
But he came and he became the sound man, and he was sound man for a few years and retired from that.
Well, I mean, horn section wise, you pretty much used everybody
Yeah,
around here there is to you.
yeah, there is. They've all-
There's not a sax player breathing that hasn't played with Steve
all been in the
Burnside.
band. It reminds me, there's a great line. There was a show on TV called The Treme, and it was about the scene, the music scene in New Orleans after the big Hurricane Katrina.
Okay.
And it was the musicians trying to get back to work again. And I remember this trombone player, he had a band, he says, man, he couldn't get horn players. He said, I got the only 8-piece band with 50 members. He had to keep phoning up trombone players and trumpet players and see if he could get to do it. And I said, yeah, I can identify with that. It was a good show.
It's just about 15 minutes or so. Mind you, when you're in the studio, we'll run as long as you want. We pay for the Zoom. It's all good. So one way or the other, with that much time left, how about we talk a little bit about where you see it happening here, let's say in the next 6 months to a year, hopefully rolling out of this pandemic.
We're hoping that we can get the Blues in the Park back on. That went every Thursday night. For how many years did we do that?
I'm going to say 15.
15. Okay, I'll go with 15.
In the area.
In that area. And we used to have the big concert once a year, 3-day one, where we had
That's
blues.
right.
There's blues every Thursday night live, and it's free. And COVID drove that knife in and killed it. So we're hoping that restrictions will ease up. Fireman's Park has gone through a complete renovation. You won't recognize it when you see it now. It's all stone levels and.
Have you seen it finished?
Not
Remember
finished.
we went down and looked,
We did.
but it wasn't quite done yet.
No, is it done now?
Well, I'm asking you if you had seen it.
No,
I bet it's done now.
Probably is. I haven't been back, but it'll be a beautiful place. It's a great venue for live music. It's got perfect acoustics.
But Steve had, this was only a couple of years you did the big one, eh? Like the 3-day
They
thing?
did it for, before I was involved, they did it up above the falls there,
Marineland.
Greenland area. George Bailey was the entertainment director there.
Yeah,
And then they came
There.
down, and I think he did the first one, and then I got involved with it, and we did it 2 or 3 more years. The problem back in those days was the cost of entertainment. You could spend $25,000 or $30,000 for an act, you get rained out.
Yeah, you had Savoy Brown. I mean, that's a fairly, to me, I remember them as when I was like 20 years old.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I thought that's the biggest deal. That's the biggest name I remember there.
you know, we had Savoy, we had lots of good acts there, and we were always worried about spending that kind of money and then being right there. It happened to a friend of mine. I'm also associated with the Lewiston Council on the Arts, and they have big concerts at Art Park.
Oh, yeah.
And they hired B.B. King, and I think it's Jeff Beck and B.B. King. $165,000 got rained out.
Ouch. Ooh. Now, would there not be some kind of insurance on that kind of thing or something?
Well, I don't know if George Osborne was running it then. I don't know if they had insurance or not. I don't know. All I know is they had to pay the band.
You and I went to see B.B. King. Now, what year would that have been? Like 2005?
Something like that. We went up to Trauma to see. Yeah.
I can tell you, B.B. King's quite elderly. And it's like, you do the big introduction, Dylan's big thing, and he's supposed to come out and play it. But this went on for forever, it's where's this guy, And I could see him, some guy back there pushing him out there. Baby, you gotta go out there and play a couple too. I don't want to go, the introduction's still going on. But what's good about that concert is Buddy Guy was
the opening act.
Yeah, and Tedesco.
Yeah, Susan Tedesco.
Yeah.
Tedesco, yeah.
So they had, and Buddy played with B.B. some.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was a good show. We could never afford B.B. King, but we did have Gil Hicks, and he did a good job. Yeah, we had some good stuff down there, and we did it at a reasonable budget. We kept it going for a number of years.
And it's early in the day. Although like right when you're done, the mosquitoes hit.
Oh, yeah.
And like at 9 o'clock when you're done, it's like your gear gets packed up real quick because the mosquitoes are.
You got to have mosquito repellent when you play there. And if we didn't like somebody, we wouldn't tell them that.
Yeah.
Mosquito repellent was key.
One other thing, this Carly has to do. I always tell them, Steve, that you played in a band that had a mellotron.
A mellotron, yes, we did.
Well, folks, a mellotron is like the first keyboard that orchestrated.
It's strings.
Yeah, and it had like tapes. Well, I was reading up on it today. The most advanced one had 35, but the earlier ones were like 3 notes at a time, 4 notes at a time, or something like that.
Well, ours actually had a tape frame, and it had actually 1/4-inch tape.
Yes,
Hanging down inside through loops. And
very primitive.
when you pushed a note down, it, like a tape recorder, pushed a
Ahead.
capstan down, rubber
Yeah.
wheel down, and it played, and it was the sound of 3 violins bowing in unison for that note. So it was like a string section. Ours had 35 notes, and you could play violins, and it had a selector. And what it was, the head block moved under the tape. So there was violins, cellos, and flutes. We actually bought another set of tapes from Les Paul.
Whoa,
It was violins, horns, and sound effects.
did you meet Les Paul?
No, I saw him through the window, but I didn't actually meet him. But he was the guy that recorded these for us.
Oh, I didn't know he had anything to do with it.
Yeah,
I thought it was a British thing.
it was, but then it got sold out to a company in New Jersey called Sound City. And Sound City had Mellotrons for a while, and they sold us the new tape frame. And where you can hear it is Nights in White Satin is one of the key songs that's a Mellotron playing the string line in that.
Well, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. All kinds of songs had it that you
Genesis,
Genesis had one, and the Marquis had one. The Beatles used it.
But I'm saying, you're the only band I know on a personal level that owned one. What did that thing cost?
I think it was $2,800 in 1976.
So
Wow.
what would that be, like $15,000 now or something?
Probably.
And that's why nobody had one.
And you
Couldn't be
couldn't,
like a bar band carrying that thing
they
around.
couldn't send it to you. You had to go to New Jersey and get it because you couldn't send
They
it.
had an interview, you see if you were worthy of having.
Well, mostly because it wasn't secure enough to send it. You get a pile of parts.
We had a Cromar.
Cromar.
Oh, yeah, it was like a Japanese thing. It wasn't a mellotron.
When you have a Mellotron, and they had another little synthesizer called the ARC Pro Soloist.
I remember art.
And you could do a string section with one hand, and you could do flute or trombone on this Pro
Yeah,
Soloist.
the art was more of a monophonic sort of
Yeah, it was a
type
monophonic
thing.
thing, yeah, really good sounds
Yeah.
for the trumpet, trombone, banjo, some things like that. And you were an orchestra, again, some people singing, you were doing real good. But it burned up in a fire in 1983. We were playing at the Ramada
You
Inn,
told me you lost all of them.
playing at the Ramada Inn in West Palm Beach. Doing a show there, and I get a phone call about 10:30 in the morning. Somebody said, "You better get down there. Ramada Inn's on fire." And I ran right down past the firemen, and they had two big hoses right in there where the stage was. Everything we had was toast,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, if it didn't burn, it was drowned.
Yeah, it was over for that. Luckily, we had insurance, but we couldn't get a Mellotron anymore. It stopped making them. The Mellotron company actually took our money. We bought a new one, and we had to sue them.
Oh, I
Didn't make
see.
any more Mellotron, but they took the money for it.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a doozy. So,
I'm in awe. Just sitting and listening to you guys chat, and every couple of minutes I'm trying to wipe the smile off my face. But it's just listening to the names you're dropping and the stuff that you guys have seen and done. It's just a pleasure to sit back and listen. We'll have to cut the 3 squares out of the Zoom show to throw it on Facebook just for you guys. It's just amazing. So how about the future, guys?
Oh,
We build
so
this as past,
Who has
present,
a
and
crystal
future
ball? So we should
of
be able to.
music.
I think, like this summer, there might, the patios will have some single work. I still think it's a while for bands, to be honest with you.
And I agree with you.
I think for a number of reasons, but part of it is money. I mean, these poor places have been beat up so badly.
They can't afford to dump a big load of entertainment to maybe make it better.
Even when they start turning their profit, I mean, they need to crawl out of the hole,
Yeah.
So I'm thinking fall, like see some bands.
Maybe fall.
I think that the one thing that really hit with this pandemic, and I think it's for almost any art form, whether it's performing or graphic or sculpture even, I think that online's where everything is. I mean, it's been that way for gamers and the next generation for years already. But I think that people that we might say are as seasoned as I am and then some, I think now we're all catching up. And the one good thing is for those entertainers like yourselves that are online and catching up to technology, it gives you a whole new fan base. I mean, when we had T-Bone in the studio, it was great. He was in to do the video thing over the summer, and I was just amazed talking to him. But we had people come in the studio. Hawk, who joined our meeting here, who helped set us up earlier today, who's a member of Northern Tributes, as well as the Lions, but he wanted to meet Steve when he was in the studio, so he made sure he get down here. But sure. Basically, I think that future, like we all fell in love with T-Bone's music sort of thing. And I had never really heard a lot of it. I was fortunate to catch him at a couple of shows at the Maple Leaf here in Niagara Falls and stuff like that. We even seen him at a little birthday party at Christine's Bar and Grill. So, I mean, Christine Scott, of course, you guys are familiar with Christine. So, it just, I think that next generation, I mean, my kids, I had one of them say, "Hey, who's that?" You know what I mean? And I think that you guys now are going to become part of the future of music, even though you're the past of music that got us here because of technology. What do you guys think about that as we're kind of heading out of the show?
There will be a backlash towards technology where a guy like T-Bone, I mean, and he's a generation from me. So see, I think of his music as a little crude.
Okay.
I mean, like, my generation, things are a little more produced, not near as produced as things are now.
I was just going to say, and now Hawk here, exactly.
Yep, exactly. I agree with that 100%.
But that's like that's like the Nirvana thing or whatever, like the cycles of, music was produced in slick throughout the 80s. I mean, Tears for Fears and great sounding bands, great production. But then as that ran its course, the Seattle sound came in, which was another thing altogether. That was a cruder, guitar doesn't really need to be quite tuned.
I understand.
There's a lot of people, like if you were to go to any of my shows, the average age of them is 60.
Yep, yeah.
And we can fill a park with 60 up until they're gone. They like that live feel. It's rougher music, if you will. They don't need anything slick. They like you or they don't like you. And we did some shows at the parks, some of the things where we brought in younger groups and it didn't work for that audience. They like the Big Johns and the Steves and the Hicks. That's what they want to hear. Now they still got 20 years to go before they're gone.
Well, I know that I love that kind of music. So it's, you know,
Same here.
I'm in awe of the music before my generation. I'm not against rap or hip hop or techno or any of that. But I mean, I'm an old school classic folk, rock, blues, country. So when I came across like your music and T-Bones and even listening to Gil, I mean, the first few times I was fortunate to hear Gil was with Chris Cousineau and his current band, Second Heaven, and Gil's current band. And, you know, to go back and catch some of the YouTube shows and catch Gil on breakfast television, go back and see some of your shows, you know, that were taped at the park and they're circulating everywhere, you know. I just love that stuff. So, I mean, I think the future is
aspect, and you don't really get that with techno, although some of the techno is good, but it's a niche market for that.
Mhm.
The live music market is real open and it's big. You know?
I always said that, you know, I like live music so much. I'm get teary-eyed here. I don't care if, you know, guitar player breaks a string. I want to see him break a string and he plays on and just for where he's playing on the deck. I don't mind that. I don't like a little chunk of feedback go on or something. Okay. You know, to me that's
part of the live
experience. You know, that if it's slick, then go home and turn your radio on.
Yeah, that's right. You can't be too slick.
Yeah, I'm a live music guy. Like, well, go ahead, Hawk. I see you were going to say something there.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah, true. I agree. No,
I'm a live music guy. I like the feel in the room. You know, and to me, I'm not as talented as you guys with sound and stuff. To me, I don't care about the loud and I don't care about the overdone songs, and I don't care about the echo, and to me it's just the adrenaline rush of being in the room with you guys and watching it actually happen and watching a 25 or 30-year-old pick up a guitar next to a 90-year-old like I got to see with John and Hawk, and we had a young guy out of Toronto Island here, Andrew Hild. He came in and he heard T-Bone was in the studio, came running up with his guitar, said, "Hey, I only got 5 minutes."
Yeah.
So, I mean, to watch them pick it up, though, and just start playing it was like they were friends for 20 years. And I think that's what I like about the live music. And I think that's what you guys bring to the table. And, you know, but just as we're wrapping up, it's 8:00 here. Now, it won't be 8:00 when you see this replayed, but it'll be 8:00 now. So our hour's up. I want to thank a few people before we get to the main stars, and that's our Northern Tributes friends and our Lions friends, Catherine Stoltz, Hawk Gerdal, who's actually on the call right now, Billy Miles. They all stopped in, Cheryl Don Ryan, they all stopped in and out just to make sure that we had some background. They were texting me. That's why I kept looking down to see what was going on, just to make sure the sound was okay. We look forward to actually streaming you out of here properly one of these days. Hopefully you'll come back. But as we wrap up for the night, I'd like to leave the final comments to Gil and our guest, Mr. Steve Burnside, Wall of Famer.
Well, I just want to say thanks, Steve, for coming. That
thank
worked
you.
out really good.
Thank you for having me, Gil.
I mean, we jabbered away and we consumed an hour.
It was an hour.
We had a little bit of talk before. We're talking about, well, you know, we'll play some tunes and, you know, we do this, that, was that, like you might not, you know, utilize the whole hour, but that wasn't any problem with it. It was my privilege.
It's taken some getting used to me. I was just starting to learn how to actually stream and stuff. So now going back to the Zoom is like going backwards, and it's a good format, and You Matter TV's been using it, and the Lions, and we want to thank our newest sponsor, Barter Pay Niagara, who's now paying for all our Zoom, our Canva, our Google Drives, everything, so that we can be on platform for the health and wellness outreach. So for tonight, on behalf of You Matter TV, Northern Tributes, the City of Niagara Falls, and of course, Steve Burnside, Wall of Famer. Thanks, Gil, for the interview, guys. We look forward to throwing this on the internet someday, but please come back when we're actually officially open here at the studio. We'd love to have you.
Woo!
There we go.
Have a great night, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Take care. Thank you.